and welcome to another episode of She's the Boss. And today I'm joined by another international guest. I'm really super excited to welcome Nadine Russell, who is the founder of Luxe. Hi, Nadine.
Hi, Daniela. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to speak to you today. So you're joining us from Canada. So you're my second Canadian She's the Boss participant. And I really like speaking to people overseas, so I'm really excited to hear what you have to share with us today. So, to start off with, can you share with us a little bit about your business, the motivations behind why you started it, and how long you've been running for?
Okay. Well, Luxe is a newer company that I just started. It's still kind of in startup stage, if you will, because it's less than a year old. I actually decided to start Luxe July 2017. I had prior online businesses that I had started before, and this one, it's something that I wasn't necessarily ready to start it, but I felt there was a need for it. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I live in Canada. I live in Calgary, and in Calgary, there's not a lot of beauty supply stores. Well, I mean, there's more now than there used to be, but what I find in the beauty supply stores, you go in there and it's like the same thing in every store, the same hairstyles, the same wigs, the same, makeup or beauty supply products that you see all the time. And for me, I love changing up my hair pretty often. And I don't like looking like everybody else. I want to have my own unique style. So I had always been shopping online for hair. And people always ask me like, oh, I really love your hair. Who does your hair? Where do you get your hair? And I'm like, you know what? I just need to start right now and launch this now. It might not feel like I'm ready, but I'm going to launch it right now because the need is obviously there for it. And then I just created an Instagram account and I said, Instagram, we're doing this together. We're going to start Luxe. And, so far it's been really good. Like, with startups, especially if you don't have like the capital right at the beginning to start it off the way you want it to, it can be slow, but I feel like the traction is starting to pick up pretty well. And I'm very happy with what I've accomplished up until now.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying you just started this business, but you have other businesses. How many other businesses?
Well, previously I had closed down. I had an online store called Style Packs, and it was like accessories as well as like a blog where I discussed beauty, fashion, lifestyle, and things like that. And it kind of transitioned. So it kind of evolved into Style Pack. It didn't start off as Style Packs. As an entrepreneur, I started my entrepreneur journey kind of by accident because I was always into blogging and vlogging. And I started getting contacted by different companies and things like that. And I said, you know what, I want to offer something to my followers. And I'm really into fashion and, accessories and things of that nature. So I started like an online accessory store to go along with the blogging because I would talk about fashion. I would talk about hauls like skincare and hair care and things like that. So that's where Style Pack was kind of born. Around that time, I was also doing freelance makeup, and I was also doing freelance modeling as well. So I'm someone, I don't like to be bored. I like to be active. I like to keep my mind going because it's a boring place, to be honest. There's not a lot to do here. So anything to keep myself active and keep myself engaged. And that just seemed like something that would work for me. So around that time, there was a lot of changes in my personal life. And I had gained weight and, I was stressed out about a lot of things around that time. Like my grandmother passed away and then my grandfather passed away. And I was just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So I decided to take some time off and start focusing more on personal development. So at that time, I closed that business. I closed down Style Pack and I stepped away from it so that I could search, within myself and find what other purpose I had and how else I could help people. Mm-hmm. And that's where I kind of got into, the platform where I met you on is Entice the brand, where I could actually help other people who, are dealing with things as an entrepreneur. And I figured that it was a good time for me to, instead of focusing on the commerce part of business, start focusing on the motivational, the inspirational, the mindset part of business. And even as a person, like self-love is something that I'm really into. So I took a step away from the commerce to focus more on the inner workings of an individual, what someone would need to successfully run a business, or even just to live their life day to day, certain foundational things as a human being that's necessary.
So that was a really good answer. And every single interview I do, I say that's led me to ask all of these questions, and it just keeps on happening, which I guess means I'm interviewing the right people. When you so the first question, I need to try and remember it in order. When you close the fashion-based business,
right?
You obviously, as you said, going through a lot personally. How did you take time to grieve that business, or was you not really as emotionally connected?
I mean, it was hard to make that decision, because I think as an entrepreneur, especially as a solopreneur, the businesses that you create, you're connected to them. Like, it feels like your child, you know what I mean? So it's always difficult to kind of shut it down. And that was something that was hard for me to do. But I realized that in order to grow, sometimes you have to let things go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm still attached to it. Like, the Instagram for it is still active. Like, there's no pictures. I took everything down, but I'm like, I'm going to rebrand this into something else, because I still feel that there's space for it. Because at first, when I started doing the self-love pact, and I came up with that, the self-love pact is the name of the self-love program that I created after, all of that had happened to me. And I had kept it as style packs. I'm like, oh, I can fit it all in, but it kind of felt a little bit too over the place for me. So I said, you know what, I'm going to shut down that, and I'm just going to focus on, rebranding it in a way. And that's where Entice the brand came in, because then it was more like a personal brand where I can sit down and address people's concerns in regards to self-love or even business. And then, it wasn't something that I was like, I'm going to go full on with it, like as I am now. It was something that I was kind of doing behind the scenes, because I really wanted to work on myself. Mm-hmm. Right. So it was definitely hard to close Style Pack, but there's going to be a rebrand, and I see a vision for it differently from what it used to be, but it's still that same audience that will be impacted, that I think will definitely be able to benefit from what it's going to be rebranded into when the time comes.
Mm-hmm. So Entice the brand, tell those that are watching a little bit more about, well, you kind of touched upon it, but what is that business?
So Entice the brand, it's kind of more so like a consulting, and I'm kind of new to that consulting area. Mm-hmm. And at first, like I was saying, like with the personal development, a lot of my self-love and personal development, I express myself through poetry. So originally when I started it, I was, expressing myself through poetry, and then it was poems that I felt like someone that was broken or someone that was going through an experience they would be able to relate to. And then it was more like an outlet to say, this is my raw feelings, So when I started Luxe XO, a lot of women were like, oh, your Instagram, how did you grow your Instagram? How did you do this? How did you do that? And I realized that as a consulting, it might work a little bit better, because I was already helping people with the self-love aspect and the mindset aspect of being an entrepreneur. So I figured every business is different, and obviously you need that personal development behind you in order to have a successful business. But why can't I merge certain aspects of growing your Instagram account and marketing and branding? Because I guess rewind a little bit behind, I went to school for marketing, and marketing and branding was pretty much the most artistic I could be in the business world, because I'm not really the numbers person. I was good at numbers when I was younger, but as I got older, I was just, I'm more in tune with that creativity. I like the colors, I like art, I like, everything that I've kind of done that I really find a passion to is something that allows me to be outside of the box. I don't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to be labeled like everyone else. So I'm the type of person that's always looking for a way to be different and to venture out and to embrace what's different about myself. And in business, especially with so many people in so many different niches, you need to do things that make you stand out and, you know, sets you apart from everyone else. Because no one wants the exact same, you know, like as a consultant, there could be like 5 million different consultants, but every single consultant is different. So with Entice the brand, I'm like, okay, well, I talk about personal development. I talk about self-love, which is like imperative to know these things when you are an entrepreneur. So why not merge in the information that I learned even recently through social media marketing when I was growing LuxeXO, and I created something called brand discovery sessions, where basically I can sit down with an entrepreneur and say, hey, you know, just kind of like how we're having this one-on-one, and say, hey, what do you love? What do you enjoy? And that way I can help that individual to merge a part of who they are and their story and what they love into their business, and then show them how to use those things combined to grow and scale their business in an authentic way.
What would you say, and this is very specific to your area of expertise, and I want you to answer this for the people that are watching.
Okay.
For women in particular in business, where do you feel that kind of their self-love process, if that even makes sense, falls down? A lot. I've spoken to quite a few women in this process who have said you need to make time for self, you need to practice self-love. But what does that practically mean? And in terms of the clients that you've engaged with, where do you see that the majority of women in business are falling down in that respect? I feel like I'm waffling, but I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. One thing, like you did say, the making time for yourself, that's going to come up a lot, because when you're in business, as you know, you get busy and you forget about yourself. You focus on building your business. And when you're not building your business, if you have a family, you're focused on your significant other, you're focused on your child, you're focused on doing groceries and taking care of the house, right? So that time for self is very, very important. And I know a lot of people look at self-love and they think, you know, time for self, and they're like, oh, that means I have to have a bubble bath, and that means that, but a lot of it is deeper than that. One thing that I really like and I help people with is like affirmations, for example, and the mindset part of it, because there's a lot of times there's deep rooted situations in us that we don't think about, we don't reflect on, and it affects us so deeply and we don't realize it. So like with the self-love pack, there's a part in there where I talk about forgiveness, because a lot of times in business, we make mistakes. You know, we don't reach our quotas. We launch something and then we change our mind. And like, there's a lot of different feelings. There's embarrassment, there's disappointment, there's all those things that are in there. So, you know, even business partners, sometimes you might have a falling out with a business partner, or friends and family members, you know what I mean? Friends or family members don't support you. They don't, you know, you might think that, okay, I have a business, that means everybody's going to buy stuff from me, and they don't, right? So that mindset, we kind of shut it down, you know what I mean? And we create certain barriers for ourselves, and sometimes it can make us feel inadequate, or it can make us feel all these things, and they're underlining things that never really get dealt with. In regards to self-love, it's very important to look at that internal stuff and say, you know what, why am I feeling this? How do I feel? Like my parents don't support my business. How does that make me feel? And addressing that. That is so, so important to address that. Even ourselves, to look at ourselves and be like, you know what, I made a mistake here. I did do that. And be okay with that and address it and say, you know what, I forgive myself for that. I forgive my parents for not having my back and not supporting me. I forgive, you know, that business associate that I had that turned around and did this, or turned around and did that. So that's another aspect of self-love that is so, like, it's forgotten. People forget that that is also a part of self-love, is just spending time with yourself to reflect on your thoughts and empty yourself of that baggage, that internal baggage that you're carrying. And like, even things in the past can even come up as well, because I know for myself, like, especially when I was going through that stuff, when I said, you know what, I need to shut Style Pack down. The stuff that came up for me, because like, even with my dad personally, like my dad and I, we didn't have a good relationship, and he was not very supportive of me.
Well, I was going to ask, are you speaking on experience? Was going to be
yeah, exactly. So that was something I had to reach down and look into. And what was lovely about that is that after that experience and letting it go and saying, you know what, it doesn't matter, and I forgive myself and I forgive him, I was actually able to connect with him, and we were able to build a relationship after that, because then it opens up doors that you didn't even realize were closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then also affirmations, like I said, you get to speak into existence the things that you want and the way you want things to be. So I am a confident business owner. Bless you. I am a confident business owner. I am a successful business owner, and speak that life and speak that power into yourself, and that empowerment, that self-love too, because if you don't empower yourself, what are you going to do? Sit and wait for the next person to empower you? You have to know all of that stuff within you. And those are aspects of self-love that people overlook all the time.
Mm-hmm. How did you come to this? Because you said it's not something you studied, because you said you did marketing.
Yeah.
When did you have the epiphany?
I think it was around the time, like with the Style Packs, because I was so busy, and I had Style Packs, I was doing the modeling, I was doing the makeup, and I was actually going through a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that I do. Like I said, I'm a creative person. So like I sew, for example, that's one of my outlets. And there was a girl on YouTube named, I think her name was Misha. And she was someone that I really looked up to. She was a fashion designer, and I used to watch her videos to get inspiration and stuff like that. And I kind of get emotional when I think about this, so I'm going to try not to cry. But there was an incident where she was actually murdered by her ex-husband. And because I was already going through so much, when that happened, I broke down, you know, because I was already at a kind of vulnerable place. Mm-hmm. And to look and see the light that she was for so many other people to start their businesses and to even be in fashion and, you know, learn how to sew, which is a great skill. And to see someone have such impact and such light, and see that those types of things can still happen to people like that, it really shook me in a bit. And I'm like, why is the world like this? Mm-hmm. I'm like, the world is missing something. The world is missing something. And I just started thinking, like, well, what is it? I'm like, the world needs more love. Mm-hmm. Now, how's the world going to have more love? And one of my favorite quotes, I don't remember it word for word, but basically it's like, it starts with you. Yeah. Right? Everything, like, be the change you want to see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if I myself can learn how to love myself more and appreciate myself more, and look at my flaws and look at the things, the obstacles in my way, and accept those things and love myself in spite of those things, then I'm teaching other people around me how to treat me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm teaching the other people on the outside looking and saying, you know what, Nadine has so much love for herself, and I respect that. I admire that. And I also want to learn how to love myself. So I originally started the self-love pact for me. Mm. I started it for myself. Mm. And I said, you know what, why don't I open this up to other women and even men that are going through stuff and they don't know where to go. They don't know where to turn. Let me share my journey. And in sharing my journey, I realized that I wasn't the only one that needed it. Right. And because I look at myself as an entrepreneur, I'm like, well, if I'm an entrepreneur and I need it, definitely other entrepreneurs need it as well. And this is something that I think needs to be put out there as an entrepreneur. And the thing is too, like with a personal brand, like how Entice the brand is a personal brand, a lot of people, like models, they need that. Makeup artists, like a lot of us, we just wake up and we go about our days and we completely forget to nurture ourselves. And if we're not full, we can't fill other people if we're not full. We can't give from emptiness. Yeah. Right? So it's so deep, like the basis of it is so deep, and it's like, I just want to be a part of that change to enable to empower women. I have a heart for women, obviously, because I am a woman and I understand, but also for men. But women were looked at as more emotional and more delicate, and a lot of us get hardened by life and things that happen to us. So that was the epiphany for me, where I said, you know what, I know I need it for myself. And if I need it for myself, I know there's other women that can benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of started from there.
I really love talking to you already. I want to finish. I'm looking at the time now. This is going to be longer than 30 minutes. I already know. So rewinding all the way back.
Okay.
Obviously, you're very entrepreneurial. Is that something that you recognize as a child, or is this something that you only realize as you are an adult?
Well, I think I always knew it as a child, but the thing is that I come from a single family, like a single parent home, I should say. My mom raised me.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is a worker. That's the mentality that my mom has. She'll put in a double shift. She's always been like that because she likes the stability and the security of having a job. Mm-hmm. My dad, on the other hand, who didn't raise me, he's an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He was a dancehall DJ back in the day. He's owned many businesses. He's a welder.
So was my dad randomly.
Oh, really? Oh, yes. That's so crazy. Yeah, so he was the entrepreneur. But because I wasn't raised with him, I didn't get to understand that part of myself, but I knew that I hated working for people. I like doing my own things. I don't like people telling me what to do. Even as a kid growing up, I was like, hey, hello, my mom didn't tell me that, so your opinion doesn't count. Like, my mom was my only boss. I'd go to school and I'd have problems. Teachers would be like, Nadine, please don't help the other kids, because I would finish my work early. And I'm like, well, hey, let me help you do your maths. Let me help you do this. Let me help you with your social studies. And they're like, hey, Nadine, if you're done, just sit down. I'm like, but that's boring. No one wants to do that. Why would I sit down when I can help other people? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So my mom used to tell them, just give her more work, but they never wanted to give me more work. So I'm sitting there, finish my work, because I was very bright as a kid. And they're like, okay, just sit there. I'm like, I can't just sit here. There's people that obviously need help, because how come they're still doing their work and I'm done mine? Right? So I always had that love to help people, and that I wanted to help people, and I didn't like people telling me what to do. Like, why would I sit here and do nothing when there's obviously things that need to be done? Like, it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So I think I always knew as a kid, but I didn't know where to start. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to do, because if my dad was in my life, like, I feel like I would have been able to learn more of that, but he was doing his own thing. So that is one thing that, if I had one regret, is that I wish that my dad was more, at that time, he was more, involved, more of a better father figure for me at that time, because I would have been able to harness that information from him, and I probably would have started my entrepreneurial journey a lot earlier in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because my dad was never an entrepreneur, but he instilled in me that I had to be an entrepreneur. And I think that's where, however, and this is just as my own general opinion, my dad was around up until I was 15 and instilling that in me. And I still didn't start my entrepreneurial journey till I was 23. And actually, having him there was fine. But because my mom, similarly to your mom, was about work, job.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if him saying you have to be an entrepreneur helped me get to where I needed to get to as quick as it could have if I didn't have my mom saying work. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to say is, even if he was there, you still would have maybe have come to where you came to when you came to it.
Yeah. No, that's true too. Yeah, that's true.
So moving back to more business related questions, what has been the most difficult thing that you've had to overcome in business, would you say? Or challenge?
The desire to be perfect. That is difficult, because especially in a startup, and if there's already other businesses in the same niche, it can be a challenge, because obviously you want to be comparable. You want people to look at your business and still like see the other businesses and not be like, oh, well, I'm going to go with this people because, they've, their graphics are better on their website, or, you know what I mean? So that perfection and wanting to have everything like line up and be perfect can sometimes be very crippling. And I know in the past, there's a lot of times I wanted to start something and I didn't, because I'm like, ooh, I'm not going to do that because I don't have the right setting and I don't have that. And, oh, I should get a photographer to do this. And I realized that done is better than perfect. Sometimes done is just better than perfect, because if you're always sitting and waiting for everything to be perfect, you'll be waiting forever, because nothing's going to be perfect. And as an entrepreneur, you learn as you go. So if you have anything in your heart to do, it's better to just start it and perfect it as you go forward.
I think that's really a valuable lesson. And I've, for the most part, always kind of taken that on board. And I don't have everything right now, but I'll work it out. But I find that a lot of people who go into business do have this thing like, well, I can't do it until I've got this amount of money to pay to get it perfect. And actually sometimes just work it out yourself, learn on the job. And I think that is really valuable advice. What has been, separate from that, what has been the greatest lesson that you've learned?
The greatest lesson is to be yourself. Definitely be yourself. I know sometimes, again, when other people are in business, you want to come off in a certain way. You want to, come off to be professional, or come off to be, like you have everything in order, but no one has everything in order. And that's one thing that I'm learning. Like last week, I was a mess. I was a complete and total mess last week. And I have come to this point where it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be like, I posted on the Entice the Brands Instagram. I was like, I cried today, guys. Like, how are you guys doing? Because everybody gets to a certain part in life where things are overwhelming. And what I realize is when you're authentic and you're true to yourself, and you share your story and you share your journey and you share, life is not always perfect. And sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do. And I face obstacles where I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but I still press through. And sometimes I'm tired and I just don't want to do anything. And when people see that you're authentic and you're real and you're honest about where you are and what you're trying to do, you attract your tribe to you. And those are the people that are going to be like, hey, I support you. And I'm going to be there for you. And, regardless if you feel like you have everything together today, or if you feel like you're falling apart, I'm still going to support you in your business. I'm still going to, reach out to you and work with you, because people can tell when people are putting on, what I mean? Like, it's very easy. Like, that's one of the major keys. For example, on YouTube, a lot of people are going on YouTube, and it's not because they have a passion for YouTube. They just think YouTube's a quick paycheck. You see what I mean? So then they start doing all this stuff and all these theatrics, and people are, but you're not real. Like that's not really you. And nobody wants to see you trying to be somebody else. People come here to see you. People want to see who you really are. And people like people that are relatable. So if you always pretend to be a certain way when you're really not like that, like it can really hurt your brand, like hurt your business brand, hurt your personal brand. Like, it's just better to just be yourself. If you're a goofball, be a goofball. You know what I mean? People will appreciate that more.
How do you were saying, like last week you was a mess and you was crying. How do you pick yourself back up and how long do you allow yourself to stay down? I think that's a really important question, because a lot of people, as you said, want to put on this pretense, everything's perfect. And then when they break, they break. And I'm always of the thinking that give yourself that time to be on the floor. Well, it's actually my granddad that used to say this: you're allowed to be down there, but don't stay down there too long. So I always say I would never let that downness go into the following day. What's your time frame and how do you pick yourself back up?
I think it depends. Every situation is different, because last week was just a weird week. Last week felt like a week where I would be up and then I'd be like, it was a roller coaster, right? So for me personally, I feel like you need to address whatever's happening, right? So sometimes you can't address it right away. Sometimes you have to pick yourself up just to get certain things done. Be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to feel this and I'm going to feel this for like an hour. And then I'm going to put on some dancehall and I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to listen to some dancehall music that's going to hype me up, and I'm going to get this together just so I can make it through the day, because I have things that I have to do. But tomorrow I'm taking tomorrow off and I'm going to deal with what's happening. And that's like, for example, yesterday, I had plans to do a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, but I woke up in the morning and I'm like, you know what? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense, because as long as there's not a deadline that you have to meet or a meeting that you have to do, because like, for example, I do a live every Monday night on Entice the brand now. And Monday, I was not in the mood, but I'm like, you know what? There's people that are there that know I'm going to do this live. I announced I'm doing this live every single Monday, so I'm not going to cancel. It was my second Monday. I'm not going to cancel. So I had to do some deep breathing. I had to collect myself. I had to go on and I had to do that live, and then I had to shut it down and go to bed. But yesterday was a day where I'm like, you know what? I have no deadlines. Nothing bad's going to happen if I don't do anything. So it's just me, a personal setback for me. So I'm going to take this day and I'm going to collect myself. I'm going to, call my sister, talk to her, and just, feel what I'm feeling, try to feel better, but embrace that, and then chill out, get some sleep, and wake up today, because I knew today I had things to do. So I had my photo shoot this morning. I have this interview. I got to get to bed early, and I got to wake up and be ready. And I think that's the thing. I don't think you should necessarily put a time limit on it, but it comes back to that whole self-love and self-care part, is you have to schedule it in.
Yeah.
If you're not having it, like last week was not a good week, but I'm like, Saturday, I still wanted to see if I can push myself, but I couldn't, or I would be a mess right now. So you just have to trust yourself and listen to yourself. And make sure that you're giving your body and your heart and your soul what it needs, and schedule that time to just say, you know what, nothing bad's going to happen if I miss it today. But if you have deadlines, sometimes you just have to meditate or put on some upbeat music or watch a movie, like schedule an hour in or 30 minutes in or something, just so that way you can take your mind off of what's bothering you, so you can get things done. But then always schedule in a time to power down and to just deal with whatever's there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really good strategies there. 3 pieces of advice you'd give to somebody starting out in business.
Oh, 3 pieces. I mean, I kind of dropped a little bit of gems along the way, but
yeah, definitely.
Aside from what I've already said, is to start now, which is, it kind of ties into that being perfect part. Don't be afraid to start, because I think that's the hardest part. Like, if you are someone that hasn't started a business, definitely just start. And so this would be the second piece of advice, where I guess kind of ties into the first piece, is research. Know what you're doing. Look into your industry. Look into your niche. Make sure you know what it is you're trying to do, and know it really well. Because whatever area you want to go into, you want to be an expert in that area. You want to be able to talk about that particular thing for hours. If someone's like, okay, like, for example, this interview, if I didn't know what I was doing, I would be like, it wouldn't be, I would just, people be like, okay, yeah, I don't think you know what you're doing. You see what I mean? So it's important to research and to learn about your industry, so that way, what's that quote? It says something about opportunity. So like, if you're prepared, it's like opportunity.
When opportunity meets preparedness or something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to prepare, know as much as you can about your industry, or about what you're trying to achieve, or, the products and services you want to offer. Know it. So that way, for example, if you go out to lunch and then you meet a potential investor, you can sit down and have a conversation. They could be like, you know what, I really like you. You know what you're talking about. I want to invest in your business. Like, opportunity favors the prepared, or something like that.
Yes.
Right? Because there's opportunities everywhere. So first and foremost, or I guess kind of secondly, research and know exactly what it is you're doing. Why are you doing it? So you can talk about it for hours. Okay. The next thing that I would say is to, what would I say? The next thing would be build a network. Build a network. Because business is hard, okay? Being an entrepreneur, a lot of people make it look really glamorous. I know we're living in the social media age on Instagram where everyone who's an entrepreneur has beautiful pictures and they're slaying all day and they're on vacation. It's not always like that, especially as a startup. You're gonna be hungry. A lot of times you're gonna have to wonder, am I going to buy groceries or am I going to invest in my new website? And those are difficult decisions sometimes you have to make. And if there's people in your circle, your friends or whatever, that don't understand business and they're going to be like, we should go out, and you could be like, you know what, I don't want to go out because I know that's going to cost me $50 and I can use that $50 to invest into my business. They're not going to understand that. So network and try to find other people in business that you can talk to and you can bounce ideas off of, and that will support you and that can understand that broke entrepreneur place, because that place, it lasts longer than some people would like to admit. It lasts, especially if you're trying to scale your business, and especially if you don't have capital. Because, for example, like I said with LuxeXO, I started with no capital. I was just like, me and Instagram, we're going to figure this out. We're going to go. And there's been times where I'm like, you know what? I need to update this, but I kind of want to go shopping. But what's more important? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, which kind of leads into another piece of advice is look long term. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of those hard times that you might be experiencing, you might be going through, it doesn't last forever, right? Mm-hmm. So as long as you can look into the future and see long term about where you want your business to be and start preparing for it at the beginning, then that way you have something to look forward to. You can look down the road and be like, okay, well, this is what I want to do, and this is where I see the business. So what do I have to do now? Because as long as you know where you want to go, then everything that you do day to day, just make sure that it lines up with that vision. And things can always change, but it's good to have an idea of where you want to be, so that way you can take the right steps now in that direction, right?
Mm-hmm. Really good advice. And most of which I try to adhere to myself, especially the bit about networking. I was terrible at networking when I started my first business, but I very quickly realized in order to get support that you need and in order to, I guess, build and enhance your brand and your business, you need to network with other people. And I've definitely been broke. The ramen noodle lifestyle lasted way longer than I wanted it to. The only thing that kept me going was, one day I'm going to be able to afford to go out and eat nice Thai food in nice restaurants, because the business had enough money, and that did keep me pushing forward. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. If people want to find out more about you, about your brands, your businesses, where can they find out?
Anyone interested in beauty supply, I'm going to do a shameless plug. If you're interested in wigs and, beauty supplies, I sell wigs, makeup, and head wraps right now. I do plan on launching more things, as the business kind of grows and evolves. There's more things that I'll be adding to the product line, but luxexo.com, that's www.luxexo.com. We're on Instagram, which is LUXEDOTCOM, luxexo.com, spells out on Instagram. Or for any, if you want to network, you're looking for an international business bestie. I love networking and meeting other entrepreneurs, and you can find me on Instagram at Entice the Brand. So that's ENTICETHEBRAND. And you can find me there, and, inbox me, send me an email. I have a website as well, but I'm working on it because it has a mixture of my modeling stuff still on there. And there's some brand discovery, in the shop and stuff like that, but I'm still working out that website. Cause like I said, Entice the Brand kind of took off a little bit quicker than I was expecting it to. So I gotta catch up.
Okay. No, that's great. Wishing you all the very best with everything, and no doubt we will definitely speak again in the future. Thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe so that you are alerted as soon as a new video comes out. And why would you want to miss fantastic conversations like this? So make sure you click subscribe. If there's anything that has really resonated with you in this discussion this evening, please write a comment. Love to hear your thoughts on She's the Boss and this specific interview especially. So please do write a comment and also click like. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again soon.